I want to talk about an interesting development from Signal. So Signal is a private messaging app. It's recommended by people like Snowden, who say that, you should be using end-to-end encryption in all your communications. And apparently they just added a payments feature with a privacy-focused cryptocurrency. What was interesting to me is that they didn't integrate Zcash or Monero or Zcoin or any of these things. They have a different coin. Some are calling it their own coin because Moxie, the CEO of Signal, is involved in the production of this other coin, but it's a coin called Mobilecoin. I hadn't heard of Mobilecoin until today, I have to be honest. But it is interesting to kind of dive into the details of how this is going to work and how this integration is going to work. Ben, I'm going to throw this to you. What are your thoughts on this new private payment integration in Signal?
I think it raises a lot more questions than those answers that you're looking for, Naomi, because all of that is a little bit unclear. I wrote about this yesterday, but Wired first reported it. And right now it's only open to UK users of Signal and only on iOS and Android, not on desktop. So that's just sort of some usability questions answered right out of the gate. But I think this does raise huge questions about exactly how this is going to function and the difficulty of keeping all of this information private. Signal said they wanted you to be able to send money to your friends and family or receive other payments in the same way that, Signal is obviously quite popular as an encrypted messaging app. I believe in January, their downloads were up about 4,200% when WhatsApp kind of announced that it was going to be doing some data changes. So there's huge adoption of this app, and it's really easy to use, and that's what makes it appealing. That being said, bringing privacy coins and encrypted communications together is going to be a really hard line to walk in a way that doesn't draw the attention of, legislatures across the world, I would imagine, because we've already seen, a variety of different attacks on encryption. And then when you couple that with kind of KYC, AML stuff, I think this puts a really big target on Signal's back that they might not be expecting.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that in that, Telegram's TON was nuked. You had the Libra was shut down from Facebook's messaging platform. So, I mean, I'm really surprised that they're using Mobilecoin, which Moxie is so involved with, and not using something that's already exists. Because if it already exists, they're not at risk of securities and all those other ridiculous things. They're using an existing network that they didn't have a part of. So I'm just confused about that aspect. But everyone's had their hand up. Jen, you had your hand up first.
I'll kick it off. It's like kindergarten. It's like kindergarten. Yeah. I'll kick it off to Will. Yesterday, we chatted about privacy coins and we talked about how easy they are to use. And this just sounds like maybe it's just going to make it really easy for people to use privacy coins. And I'm going to kick it to you, Will, because I know you're going to have something to say, and your hand up came next. So, I mean, do you think this is just a step in the right direction? Sorry, Zach.
Oh, it's all right.
I do have something to say.
Wait your turn.
More interesting than what Zach does. So to Naomi's point, I'm really intrigued, and there's some speculation here, but a lot of times these projects, they bring in another coin because then they're able to kind of manipulate how the coin functions. So if you look at, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, so it's not a slight at the project, but Brave has their own ERC20 token, and at the time, and over the past 2 years, they've gotten a lot of hate from Bitcoin maximalists being like, why didn't you integrate Bitcoin? It exists, it has liquidity, it has a market of its own. Why don't you integrate Bitcoin? They chose not to. They chose to make their own token, and they have their own private reasons for doing that, including the ability to kind of tinker with the token itself. Here, I feel like we might be seeing a similar thing, and I'm wondering if Ben knows anything about monetizing Signal through this token, kind of in the back way that Telegram didn't do. Telegram trying to launch its own token. Here, if Signal integrates a token that it already has invested in, maybe they can gain from the appreciation of that token. And of course, that's just total speculation, but I'm wondering about like the monetization of Signal itself. So Ben, maybe you could address that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because Signal does not have a monetization model currently. It relies on donations. Earlier this year, they started taking crypto donations in some ways through the giving block. And so, there might be something to be done here, whether it's a certain fee or something like that. Again, the details are super sparse at this time. But yeah, this is really interesting too, because Moxie Marlinspike was a paid technical advisor on Mobilecoin since, I believe, 2018. And on Mobilecoin's website, I was looking at it yesterday, at the bottom of it, they say, hey, we recommend you use Signal. So there really is kind of a quite close relationship here, and which makes sense because, they would probably want to integrate something they know. But Zach, I see your hand up. What you got?
Y'all, Mobilecoin isn't even new. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like it's this new thing. It's always been like the dark horse candidate. So, going back to, 2019 when there was a lot of speculation before the June 2019 announcement of Libra, in that reporting, it was like Facebook doing its thing, Telegram doing its thing, and Signal doing its thing through Mobilecoin. Mm-hmm. So this has been sort of long in the works. And I think the fact that Moxie Marlinspike has advised Mobilecoin for a number of years, sort of the writing was on the wall that this was something that would be one of these messenger native tokens, that there was a lot of hype around in 2019. And as you mentioned, these bigger ones, Facebook and Telegram have, in one case been shot down entirely, in other case sort of downsized in terms of ambitions, and then quietly in the background, Signal and Mobilecoin have been working on this, and now we're seeing it come to the fore. Mobilecoin, for instance, trades on FTX, so it's not like this is like an unheard of property. So that to me is the story here, that of what looked to be a promising bumper crop of messenger native payments tokens, it's odd that this is the one that we're seeing go live in some way first, so that they got over the finish line here first. I think there's some interesting lesson in that. I don't know what the lesson is, but that to me is an interesting narrative. Yeah, we'll think about it. We'll figure it out. We'll think of something clever.
I think something here too is, Telegram was trying to launch in the US, obviously, or launch ton, but they're avoiding the US right now. Signal is, they have a big user base. They have a very popular app that's experienced huge growth, but they're doing this in the UK. They're not even messing with the SEC at this moment, which really cracked down on ton. So that might be where the rubber kind of hits the road, is when they try to, enlarge the scope of this. But right now it's just in beta. So this is going to be a developing story, and it's going to be really, really interesting to track as this year goes on.